Hey, this is Mr. Ward, and I want to talk to you about my favorite method of solving systems of equations. It's called elimination, in which you are going to eliminate a variable by operating on both equations at the same time. So it turns out you can add equations together, or you can subtract equations from each other. And we can use this in order to get rid of a variable that is in our way, and then be able to solve for the other one. So as you know, of the problem with having two variables in an equation is you probably notice there's an infinite number of possibilities here. So you got this situation, the sum of two numbers is 502, and the difference of these two numbers is 14. What are the numbers? This is in a category of systems of equations word problems I like to call I'm thinking of a number. Officially, people tend to call it value problems, but yeah, number puzzles, stuff like that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at these two equations. They're very simple equations. It's a sum of two numbers. We don't know what they are, so we'll call them x and y, and their sum is 502. And then there's a difference of those same two numbers. X minus y is 14. Now, obviously, we've set up x to be the larger of the two numbers. So x minus y is 14 is our other equation. Now, you might notice that x and x, you have the same coefficient of x in both of these. So that's a 1x, that's also a 1x. And here you have a 1y and a negative 1y here. So if I were to add these two equations, I could eliminate the y. And you can do this. Then, first of all, many people are like, this sounds sus. You can add equations, really? You can do that? Well, let's think about this. If you do something to an equation, let's say I subtracted 2 from this side, I would have to subtract 2 from that side, right? So I have to do the same thing to both sides to keep this equation equal. I could multiply this whole side of the equation by 4 and this whole side of this equation by 4. It would continue to have the same relationship as long as I did the same thing to both sides. So if I were to add this to this side of the equation, I would have to add the same thing as this to this side of the equation. But 14 is the same thing as x minus y, and I've defined it that way by having an equal sign. So if I added x minus y to x plus y, and I added 14 to 502, then I'm actually doing the same thing to both sides of the equation. So let's see what happens if I add them. If I add them, the x's become 2x. The y's simply become 0, so I'll say plus 0y. And then 502 plus 14 becomes 516. Now, I don't care about 0y. That's just a whole lot of none. And now I just need to divide both sides by 2. Again, doing the same thing to both sides of the equation. So 2x divided by 2 will be x, and 516 divided by 2 will end up being 258. So let's write that in here, 258. Now I know what x is. And I could just go back and plug it in and figure out what y is, but I'm going to actually do something different. So I'm just going to say up here, x is 258. And we've worked that out already. That's what x is. But now remember, I added them the first time, but I could also subtract the equations. So we're going to do that instead. So if I subtract the equations, x minus x is 0x. And y minus negative y is going to be plus 2y. And if I am subtracting, 502 minus 14 is going to be 488, I believe. Let me confirm that. 502 minus 14 is 488. Always good to double check your math. And now I've got this difference of the two equations. And I don't need the 0x because that's a whole lot of nothing. I just need to divide both sides of this by 2. So 2y divided by 2 is just y. And then I've got 488 divided by 2, which is 244. Okay, so 244 is y. All right, so let's go ahead and make a note of that. Y equals 244. So that means that I have a solution of 258, 244. Let's test those out and see if they actually meet the criteria. Do they add up to 502? So 258 plus 244 does add up to 502. And then if I subtract them, do I get 14? I do get 14. It works both ways. So I have found a solution to the system of linear equations by using elimination. It's called elimination because I literally eliminate a variable by either adding the equations, in which case opposites disappear, or subtracting the equations, in which case same things disappear. So 1x minus 1x will be no x's, and 1y plus negative 1y will be no y's. So remember to always stick with one operation when you're doing this. So you would not subtract and then add. You would add the whole thing, or you would subtract the whole thing. Okay, so it's called elimination, and it is a very powerful tool. In my next video, I have worked a number of problems, and you can see them being done. You can pause the video and try them yourself.